Hello everyone, good morning and welcome to another episode of Anytime Maritime. And this is the place where if you want to learn more about maritime and engage in maritime, ito po yun. And this morning, today, we have with us a maritime practitioner, bagong word yun, maritime practitioner, running a fleet of domestic ships in the Philippines. Everybody, let's welcome Jonathan Watson.
Hello.
Hi. So, shall we call you Nat?
Nat
Na lang,
you can
Nat.
call me Nat.
Yeah, Nat. Okay, Nat! Maritime practitioner. Welcome to Anytime Maritime.
I'm glad to be here, ma'am.
Yeah. So, as I said in the introduction, you're running a fleet of domestic ships in
Yes,
the
18 in
Philippines.
all.
18?
Yes.
Okay. Can you tell us, what was your motivation and inspiration to get into maritime?
I came from the Philippine Navy. I served the Philippine Navy for 22 years and I retired in 2008.
Yeah.
And initially, I was thinking of joining the Maritime Training Institution because when I was with the Navy, I was more on HR and training as well as naval exercises. Then, an opportunity arose wherein I was called by my former boss, a Navy Admiral, to join a marine husbanding company serving the U.S. Navy. So I gave it a try and I stayed there for 3 years. And after that, I was invited by a friend to run a domestic port for him. So from then on, na-canalize na ako sa maritime. So from being a shipping agent, which was with the U.S. Navy, I became a port operator, port management, and from there I went into shipyard management, followed by a stint with the construction, maritime construction. And I was thinking, the only thing I need was a stint with the shipping.
Yeah.
It's either cargo or passenger. Then the opportunity for FastCat came in. I think it was sometime September this year. I just saw it on the LinkedIn.
Talaga?
Yeah.
Salamat sa LinkedIn.
Yeah.
So, you mentioned about husbanding.
Yeah.
What's that? So, talagang full circle, marinated.
Yeah, marinated. That's a good word.
Yes, marinated person. Talagang
Yeah.
lahat ng sangay ng sa maritime industry ay nandyan ka.
Yeah.
And this is what the podcast is all about, yung Anytime Maritime. Let's talk about maritime. So,
Alright.
so what's that husbanding?
It's a term used by the Philippine Navy to refer to basically shipping agency.
Okay.
The difference with commercial shipping agency and marine husbanding is the marine husbanding term is coined for Navy vessels.
Okay.
So when a Navy vessel gets deployed outside of its bases, they have contracted service providers, and these are called the husbanding agents. Husbanding because a vessel is given the categorization as a female.
Yes.
The vessel
yes.
is a she.
Yes.
So she needs a husband to take care of her
Yes.
when she's in port. So that's where the
Yeah.
concept came from.
Yeah. So talagang military and then private practice sa maritime industry.
Yes.
So you think that military career that you had helped in where you are right now, in what you're doing right now?
Definitely, because serving the U.S. Navy entails knowing what they need, what their needs are, what are their expectations,
Yeah.
and more importantly, their security concerns. So since I was from the Philippine Navy, serving the U.S. Navy, I was very familiar with how the crew moves, how the crew thinks, what are the expectations of the officers on board, as well as I'm very familiar with the do's and don'ts of boarding a Navy vessel. So also, it helps a lot that you're from the Navy and you get to coordinate force protection protocols with
Yeah.
the PNP,
Yeah.
with the Coast Guard.
Yeah.
So it was a very helpful thing that I was from the Philippine Navy.
Yeah. A big parang foundation, very good
Yes,
foundation.
yes.
How would you differentiate parang practice in the Navy as against the private sector maritime industry?
It's very different because basically in the Navy, in general in the military,
Yeah.
it's all about hierarchy. And I would say that mas challenging sa private sector.
Really?
You know why? Because in the private sector, it's all performance-based, and good performance and talent gets recognized and is elevated.
Hindi ba nangyayari yan sa military?
Sa military kasi, there's what you call, tenure in rank. For example, before you get promoted to the rank of, say, first lieutenant, from second lieutenant to first lieutenant, you have to stay with the second lieutenant rank for minimum 3 years. Without the 3 years tenure, you do not get promoted. And also, there's this thing called as a seniority linear list. So you are put on a list based on the time that you were called to active duty and based on your ranking upon graduation. And it's one of the considerations for promotion. For example, if there are 50 lieutenants due for promotion to lieutenant commander, probably only 15 of that will be considered because of the vacancy. Normally, if you have 10 vacancies, you get a selection list of twice that size, or 20. So, even if you are already, I would say, very familiar, very competent with your job, and you're ready for the next rank, if you do not fall under that 20, then you don't have a chance to get promoted. Unlike in the private sector, if your talent is recognized, if you can deliver, you get promoted.
Yeah. That's true. So, just to give us an idea, kasi hindi naman namin alam yan. Gaano karami ba ang Philippine Navy? Gaano kalaki ba ang manpower?
Before I retired, it was about 23,000, which is about 1/3 of the AFP. Right now, probably, roughly, I think it would be about 25,000.
25,000 in the Navy.
In the Navy.
At ilang po ang barko ng Philippine Navy?
Right now, I think they have around 16, and most of these are the ones recently acquired from different sources. Because from the time I retired, the modernization program was escalated because of developing situations in the South China Sea. So acquisitions were made, resources was allocated to boost up our defense capacity.
So Philippine Navy is really there to defend our country and our
defend as well as engage in social activities, maritime relief operations, the likes. It's a multifaceted role right now. It's not purely defense.
But how would you differentiate Navy and Coast Guard naman? Philippine Coast Guard?
Basically, Coast Guard is more on managing the maritime domain with respect to implementation of maritime rules and regulations, whereas Philippine Navy is external, looking outwards. Basically, it's engaged also in maritime protection, just like the Coast Guard. There are overlaps in terms of areas they operate in, but the rules of engagement as well as the protocols are clear in between services. Together with the Army guys as well, it's very clear where the responsibility starts and where the responsibility ends, as well as the jurisdiction.
I'm curious, kung nag-uusap pa sila, kayo ba nasa Philippine Navy, do you get to interact with this maritime stakeholders like the Philippine Coast Guard?
Yes, because normally there are exercises wherein different components of the AAP operate. Actually, even with foreign counterparts, we do maritime exercises as well with them. For example, with the Australian Navy, the US Navy, Malaysian Navy. It's good for enhancing confidence as well as interoperability, especially during disaster operations.
So you actually simulate it, you do that. Nababasa lang namin sa dyaryo yan Parang, may tayong visiting, visiting ship from the US. Navy ba yan? US Navy. And then they do balikatan exercise. So that's simulation of parang a scenario disaster, whether it's disaster or war, ganyan ba? War protection.
Most of the exercises are on disaster and relief operations.
Disaster relief operations.
But because what you get to do during a disaster is also what you do when you go to war. It's basically communicating, reacting, being interoperable. So it's the same capacities required when you go on an all-out war, except the use of the weapons. But during naval exercise, there are also some exercises about firing, live fire exercises. So you get to really tone your muscles, if I may say so.
Yeah, tone and flex.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
do it actual.
Yes.
Actual. That seems fun. Did you enjoy that?
Yes.
And how many of that were you able to participate in?
During my stay with the Navy, I was with the Ready Force, and this organization is the one in charge of planning as well as supervising naval exercises. So there was an exercise called Malpilaut at the time, wherein we get to do exercises with the Malaysians. It was a border control exercise down south, and at first there was I would say unease between the two parties because it was the first, I think, and after a 2 to 3 day exercise, they were already playing basketball.
So
it's really fun.
How many people are involved? If you do like that Barikatan exercise, at any one point, how many are involved?
It depends on how many number of ships are involved. For example, if you have say 3 ships from each side, assuming that there's about 60 on
each
in each side, that's 180 times 2, 360 basically.
Okay. And that lasts for
2 to 5 days, depending on the scenarios.
And then after that, uwi na sila.
Yes.
Aalis na sila.
Aalis na sila. And what's good is, sometimes, the guys you got to do exercise with when you were a junior, after several years, you get to meet them during the planning because they're the same guys who rose in rank at the other end. So that's the value. There are even cases wherein the exercising partnerships, the commanding officers eventually becomes the most senior officers of the different navy. So you can just imagine the relationship, the interaction, the facilitation of coordination.
Oh, that's nice. Good experience,
it's a good
for you and memorable. And it happens every year.
Every year there are several exercises that are planned and are executed, but hindi lang kasi masyadong advertised.
And that's the purpose why we're talking about it here in Anytime Maritime. So this is a movement and advocacy wherein we want more people to understand what the maritime industry is all about. So maritime industry is not only private, private sector. Of course, there's the military and government, and it's good, for us to understand and understand it. So, my sons are studying in New York in Maritime College. And nung hinatid namin nung asawa ko yung mga anak namin, it's a semi-regimented school wherein they have the regimented or military training.
Oh, that's nice.
Yes, and I was watching them, and then biglang I got it that having a military training is a requirement to be successful in the maritime industry because it's a highly technical and precise industry. So, do you think your military education and training is now helping you in your position as a general manager of a domestic shipping company?
Yes, because if you will look at all the premier naval training institutions for the maritime sectors, such as MAAP, PMMA, and the rest, they have very strong cadetship programs. Because the purpose of the cadetship program is develop the students' leadership abilities. And that's very important when you're on board ship because you need a very strong leader on board ship, and that's the master. You have to handle people under stress, deprived of access to their family. So it's a very challenging leadership situation. And you get to go to places wherein you are foreigners. You have to control your people. You have to interact with other nationalities. And again, confidence plays a very big part in terms of being successful in that endeavor.
That's true. So, malaking tulong.
Maritime,
yeah.
military training or quasi-military training in a maritime institution, I think is a must.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. The discipline, no?
Yes, the discipline.
The discipline.
Yeah.
And you were mentioning about how, because you're moving, no? If you're in a ship, the ship goes around the world. If it's a ocean liner or a big ship, and then you deal with different countries, different protocols, and you're far from your family.
Yeah, exactly.
So, kailangan may disiplina rin in terms of mental regulation.
Yes.
Big conversation nowadays in the maritime industry is mental health.
Yeah, mental health.
Mental health.
Yeah.
In your experience, paano ba i-regulate ang mental health so that you're able to do all of what is required of you in this industry?
Unang-una, for example, in the military, no, you do group activities eh. Normally, pag makikita mo sa mga camp, may mga dyan, sports facilities, basketball courts, kasi
inside the ship?
If there are, base? Depending on the ship, there are ships with basketball courts, but mostly in the bases or in the outpost.
Okay.
Kasi kailangan may pagkakaabalahan yung tao eh, di ba?
Yeah.
Second, it's the relationship eh, yung how you grow as a team.
Yeah.
Kasi you will be feeling that you are with the family, even if you are deployed. If you have a very cohesive team. So these things, for example, in a ship, ano yan eh, you get to sleep together, you get to eat together. Just imagine kung there's no good interaction, lalo kang may stress. So the role of the senior officers there is to maintain such an environment, but also at the same time maintaining discipline. Discipline is very important as well.
Yeah. So camaraderie in the ship.
Yeah.
But how do you bring out this one? You know, if you're the leader, what did you do to bring out camaraderie amongst your team?
Number one, siguro, you have to have unit pride.
Unit pride.
Unit pride. If you have unit pride, that aligns everybody. You do everything for the unit. You do everything together. Okay. And also, goals should be clear and shared.
Team spirit. Goals. You have to have common goals.
Common goals, yes.
Yeah. And then what's the third?
I mentioned unit pride.
Unit pride.
Unit pride. Yeah.
Unit
it's being proud of, for example, proud of being a member of FASTCAT.
Yeah.
That's what unit pride is all about.
Yeah. So what you learned in the military, of course, is applicable in the private sector as well.
Yes, definitely.
Yeah.
Right now at FASTCAT, there's this recent move to bring in experts from the maritime industry, and these are mostly composed of senior practitioners from the Philippine Merchant Marine Academy.
Graduate ako dyan.
Okay. So,
okay. So
what's good about that is these guys already have very strong discipline. Unity and unity of command is a very solid thing with them. If you can inject that in your organization, that makes things simpler. That makes implementation a lot faster. The major difference actually from a military to a private corporation in general is that in the military, you just get to talk to the next inline guy and everything gets done. In the private sector, depending on how the organization is, you have to talk to everyone, even to the guy who, let's say, sweeps the floor to get things done. There has been cases like that. This happens when the chain of command is not defined and is not very strong. So, mas madali sa military, minsan sasabihin mo lang dun sa second command mo, o bahala ka na. Kasi alam nyo what needs to be done eh. So, the word bahala ka na connotes everything that needs to be done. It's that simple minsan. Kasi iisa yung kultura, iisa yung priorities, and it's very clear. Minsan, pagdating mo sa private sector, you really have to align everybody. Organizational alignment is important, but it's being done in the private sector. Actually, the private sector is better at doing this. But most of the principles of leadership came from the military and adopted by the private sector. And the private sector became better at adopting these things. They become successful.
So there are really differences.
There are differences, but there are strengths that you can use to cut across. For example, from the private sector, number one is they're very cost conscious. They're also very time conscious. Because that's the thing. If you want to survive in the private sector, you really have to manage your resources. You really have to look at the bottom line, making sure that you are profitable. But sometimes in the military, this gets taken for granted. As an example is, how do you measure the effectiveness of a private corporation? It's basically if it's making money.
Profit.
Yes. Yeah, profit.
Yeah, because that's the purpose why businesses are set up. Para make profit.
Yeah,
no?
but the military, for example, the Philippine Navy, is not a profit-driven organization. So how do you measure it? You can measure it based on numbers of patrol conducted. So number of patrols conducted means there has been presence in your area of responsibility, and it has some sort of a deterrent effect for incursions. Okay, now, if you have all ships running, then you get to cover a lot of areas. But if you have several ships not operating, then mas maliit yung exposure mo or yung na-cover mong area. So these are measures of accomplishments. Problem is, walang masyadong urgency when the vessels are down kasi you're not talking about money. Naka-budget na, allocated by the government yung operating expenses ng vessels mo. Diba? So, kung hindi siya operating, hindi mo masyadong maramdaman yung kurot in terms of measure of effectiveness, except sa reports. Diba? Unlike in the private sector, if you are losing, kita mo agad kasi you have difficulty in the cash flows. Indicated agad yan, diba? Tapos, dun sa financial reports mo, bumababa ka rin. Minsan kasi sa government, yun nga, budgeted ka kasi. Whether you do your job or not, nandyan yung budget. Minsan ang
nagaling sa taxes.
Minsan nga ang measurement nangyayari is how good at you are at sticking to your budget. Kung hindi ka sumobra, hindi ka nagkulang. Yun. Kasi it's a different ball game altogether from the private sector. Kaya nga mas exciting sa private sector kasi yun nga challenging yung balancing act na you have to be profitable, diba? Yun.
You know, the target audience of this advocacy would be our young maritime students. No? I was telling you that we just had a conversation with the head of the Philippine Association of Maritime Institutions. And they're on board Anytime Maritime. No? So, sa mga nakikinig sa ating mga estudyante, parang, you know, this discussion will open up their minds on possibilities, no? Parang, ano ang career ang pwede sa akin? Military ba ako o private sector ako? Nagawa mo na lahat, military and private sector. Kung sa batang maritime student, ano kaya ang mapapayo mo sa kanila in choosing where to go? Kasi big conversation now on Seafarer 2050, yung Vision Seafarer 2050 is career pathing, mentoring, coaching. So, parang what they're realizing is that these young people need to look up at people like you who's been here for the longest time. So, ano mapapayo mo sa kanila tungkol sa military, private sector, military, private, kasi you're already differentiating it and and you've been there. We're talking about your experience.
Sige, siguro let's do it this way. Looking back, when I was, say, 17 years old, you're entering college. High school ka, entering college, hindi mo alam yung gusto mo eh. But you want to be successful. Yun lang eh.
Okay.
You want to be successful but you don't know how.
Yeah.
Diba?
Yeah.
Then, yung opportunity mo will be dependent on your access to education. That's a basic thing eh. Bottom line, una, mag-aaral ka. If you get the foundation knowledge, kumbaga medyo naka 25% of the task is already done. Ang susunod doon is i-track mo kung ano bang gusto mo talaga, saan ka happy. Kasi being happy with what you do helps a lot eh. It makes you appreciate the job, it makes you content, and you perform better. Okay, no. So, nakita mo yung gusto mong track. For example, gusto mong maging marinero. Tingnan mo ngayon, gaano kalawak yung area na pwedeng puntahan na marinero. And I would say it's quite wide. Ang gandang take-off point ng marinero. So, halimbawa, nakatapos ka ng maritime school, maritime training, nag-shipboard ka. So, sa shipboard pa lang, marami kang pwedeng matutunan doon. You get to rise up in rank, whether engine ka or deck ka. Pero, hindi yun yung katapusan eh. Kasi, pag natuto ka dyan, you can also go into maritime training. Pwede kang pumunta sa maritime audit. Okay? Sa maritime schools pa lang, ang dami mo nang pwedeng puntahan dyan. If you just engage in self-development. Importante kasi self-development. Alam mo kung anong skill set ang gusto mong kunin, and you pursue this. Pag kukuha ka ng job or magde-decide ka kung anong sunod mong lilipatan, dapat tinitingnan mo ano yung overall contribution yan sa marketability mo at saka skill set mo. You can go kasi na very general yung skill set mo, general and wide, or very specific. Minsan, ano yan? Specialized ka. For example, sa akin, yung kinultivate ko kasing skill set, masyadong specific. Bakit specific? Kasi, ang attractiveness mo is nandun sa maritime companies who needs yung skill set mo. Unlike, for example, an accountant. An accountant is not industry specific eh. Kahit saan industry, pwede mag-cut across ang accountant and admin. Pero pag marinero ka, dito ka lang sa maritime. Pero malawak pa rin yan. Depende lang sa'yo kung paano mo i-equip yung sarili mo to be able to transfer from one area to another. For example, sabi nga maritime school. Yung mga audit companies, yung mga manning agencies. Ang dami. Pwede ka pa rin mag-cut across sa logistics. Kasi related yan eh. Ikaw yung nagke-carry ng goods, pagbaba mo, ikaw naman magplano kung paano i-carry yung goods effectively. Related. What you learned in your previous job, building blocks yan for a more competent you on the next job. That's how you should develop your skill set. That's how you should look at it. Hindi pwedeng tinitingnan mo lagi sweldo. Kasi the income, the offers, the compensation will come based on how the company values you, based on what you can deliver, based on how competent you are. And remember, maraming gumagraduate, di ba? So, dapat may differentiation ka, umaangat ka compared dun sa kasabay mong graduate kasi pinafocus mo yung development mo, pinaprioritize mo ang development mo. At yun yung may advice ko sa young people natin who are in the maritime industry.
So talagang self-development.
Self-development and planning. Career planning.
Career planning.
Nobody will do that for you. You have to do it for yourself.
Career. So example nga ikaw, how did you plan your career?
Sa akin?
Yes. How did you plan your career?
Sabi ko nga, di ba, I was planning to join the training institution. Kaso,
as a trainer, that's what you plan to do.
I wanted to be involved in the training of cadets in a maritime training institution. That was my vision. Okay. That was my vision. Now, paglabas ko, ang opportunity kasi is husbanding. So, I took it. Okay? Now, after nag-stint ko doon ng 3 years, ang sabi ko, I would like to try port operation. So, tumanggap ako ng job ng port operation from a friend. Wala akong kaalam-alam. Wala rin siyang kaalam-alam. Okay. All he has is a port.
Okay. Saan yan?
Sa Pasig River, anong Pasig River's entrance.
Okay.
So, it's a small port, it's a 2-hectare domestic port.
Okay.
Pero ang ganda ng location kasi it's between two big ports, the ICTSI and the ATI. So, ang ganda ng location.
So, sa Maynila.
Sa Maynila. No? So, i-try mong i-operate to. Kasi what he was doing at the time is only, parang pinaparenta lang ba niya? May gustong gumamit, renta. It was not a port operation. Actually, it's parang lease.
Okay.
Short-time lease. So, ang nangyari,
Lease from the government?
no
local
lease sa mga local clients.
Okay.
Kung the client does the operations themselves, pinapagamit lang yung area niya.
Okay.
So what we did, inaral namin, and yung pag-aaral namin, by observing other ports, how they do it. For example, paano ba mag-unload ng mga steel cargoes? So, you have to use cranes, you have to use forklift, you have to use trucks. So, aaralin mo. So, by me deciding to go into that, grabe ang naging growth ko in terms of understanding port operation. Kasi lahat ng commodities nandun. Coal, sand, steel, wood, containers, minsan rolling cargoes. So, kumbaga, yung maliit na port na yon where I was engaged in, provided me with a lot of experiences and learning compared to kung doon ako na-hire sa ATI or ICTSI. Kasi kung nandun ka, canalize ka lang eh. For example, ang trabaho mo, container. Sa container, masyado ka pang canalize sa isang area ng, safety ka ba lang doon or what? Yeah. Unlike doon sa napuntahan kong port, lahat iyo eh.
Yeah.
So, grabe yung exposure mo, yung opportunity mo to learn. So long as you're willing to learn.
Yeah.
And as I was saying, ang importante yung self-development, yung competency building. Kasi that's how you grow. That's how you become marketable. So after there, ang next step ko, 3 years ako doon, sabi ko, domestic port, gusto ko naman yung may flavor ng ng medyo foreign ships ang i-handle ko. So there was an opening with a shipyard in Bataan. So nag-apply ako, and luckily I was selected. So, ang ko doon is port manager. So, alam ko na yung port management kasi galing na ako eh.
Yeah.
Ang difference is I was now handling liquid tankers na foreign. Tapos, may domestic rin ako na containers. Ganun. So, siya, saka cement. So, yung expertise mo in terms of managing a port, umakyat a notch. But the bigger development there was when I asked to also handle yung support services ng shipyard. Okay, so I was managing yung shipyard support services, yung lahat ng docking and undocking facilities. I was the one in charge of that, the divers, as well as yung mga equipment used for shipbuilding. And having handled that, na-expose ako sa shipyard operations. Kaya naintindihan ko rin paano yung ginagawa nilang repair, ano yung mga challenges, ganon. Pati yung subcontracting, akin din kasi yung mga paghawak ng tao. So, again, nag-expand yung knowledge mo. Related sa maritime industry, shipyard. Okay. Biglang nagkaroon ng project, mag-expand tayo ng shipyard. So, I volunteered na, sabi ko, boss, total, marami kang gagawing projects, why not put up a construction company? So that yung credit sa mga i-undertake na project, mapunta na dun sa construction company mo. And at the same time, yung construction company mo will have already a chance to really practice how to manage a project using in-house project. So that's what was done. So nag-build lang kami ng isang dolphin lang. That's 12 million. Pero natutunan ko ngayon na paano ba mag-manage ng contractor? Paano ba magpa-design? Ano ang design considerations sa facility na yon? Ano yung material requirements yan and paano yan ina-outsource. Sumunod doon, yung slipway namin, pinawiden. Dati 20 meters lang niya, ginawang 30 meters para mas marami ang capacity. I also handled that. So natuto naman ako doon ng ano bang considerations pag ang structure is below water. Very challenging kasi pag high tide, paano mo i-construct, di ba? So, paano mo i-minimize yung downtime mo na may tubig pa. So, last leg na bago mo tabtabin, bago pumasok yung tubig. Yung mga ganon.
Yeah.
So, nung na-handle ko yung project na yon, siguro I learned 70% of what you need to learn to manage a bigger project. Kasi ang dami mong learnings, ang dami mong challenges, ang dami mong learnings. Okay? So, importante sa akin kasi, yung natututo ka. Diba? Pag natuto ka, hindi na mawawala yun eh. Nagbibuild lang ng nagbibuild yung knowledge. So, that was a 12 million project. Sumunod naman, nirehabilitate namin yung yung port.
Yeah.
Yung pinaka-apron na tinatawag. Kasi nung bumagyo, nag-collapse.
Yeah.
So again, iba na namang challenge yun. Kasi it's more on paano mo i-sheet pile siya.
Yeah.
Diba? So, natuto ka na naman doon.
Yeah.
After that, ang sumunod, ang laki na. Biro 162 million. Parang pier na maliit, pero walkway lang. So, doon, malalaki ng pilota ang binabaon, may dredging ng involved. So, yung technical aspect na i-explore ka. At the same time, na-enhance yung project management capacity mo. And lastly, nagkaroon kami ng 980 million slip dock. It's a 42-meter wide facility, 162-meter in length, capable of accommodating tandem docking ng vessels.
Wow.
So, kumbaga, nakakatuwa na ini-entrust sa'yo ng owners yung ganong kalaking project. Kasi nakita niya na how you develop from somebody na walang kaalam-alam sa construction to somebody that you can trust with such an amount in terms of a project. So, self-fulfilling din eh.
Yes.
Pero hindi pwedeng puro hands-on lang. You need to educate yourself. So, I took 4 courses from the UP National Engineering Center.
Really?
All related about construction.
Talaga?
Mga 4-day courses lang, pero very specialized. For example, project management in the construction industry, project supervision, yung quality, kasi kailangan mo yan dun sa mga materials, how to test them. Ganon. Kaya, it's a combination of experience and classroom or formal training. Do not forgo formal training. Kahit kasi pag inassess ka ngayon ng companies, they will look at your educational background and foundations. I remember there was a time nag-apply ako sa ATI. There was a vice president position for the container yard. Now, so I was interviewed. I think the guy who interviewed me was impressed kasi nga grabe yung experience ko, hands-on, different commodities. Ang problema, nung tinitingnan ako, may mga training ako, may training ka ba ng safety, may training ka ba ng port management? Wala. In short, hindi ako nakuha. So, after that, I learned my lesson. While I was in Bataan, nag-undertake ako ng 1-year program, yung port management program. This is a United Nations program. Na actually ang partner nila is the PPA. So actually grabe yung effort ko to get into that program kasi it's a PPA program intended for PPA prospective port managers. Pero they accommodate private sector students as well. Ang problema ko, alam kong willing ang boss ko to send me. Challenge is how do I get a slot?
Because limited
ang slot. So, ang maganda kasi, nagkaroon ng request yung PPA for their students to tour yung shipyard.
Okay.
Yung students na punta, so, I developed some friends, tapos, nagtanong ko, paano ba mag-apply? So, ang nangyari, hindi ganito, kailangan i-recommend ka ng company mo. Ganyan. So, that's what I did. So, pagdating doon sa taas, walang response. Mag-o-open na, di namumroblema ako. Buti lang, kaibigan ko yung port manager ng Bataan. Sabi ko, Rep, paano ko ba yan ito? She called somebody. He called somebody pala. And yun, na-accommodate ako in short. So, from there, I learned a lot. Grabe, kasi 8 modules, very comprehensive.
Talaga?
Yeah.
That's a 1-year course?
It's a 1-year course. Pero nag-spread ng more than 2 years kasi inabutan ng pandemic.
So, how did you balance studying, working, family?
Actually, in a month kasi, lang kayo mga 5 days lang. So, it was really manageable. So, hindi naman every month merong klase. So, you'll be out for 5 days, pero grabe, facing, grabe ang readings,
Reading.
tapos grabe yung exams.
May
yeah,
exams.
May exams, may exams. And yung mga instructors namin are from different countries as well. Best practices talaga tinuturo.
Galing, galing. So you're saying self-development, continuous learning. That's what I'm hearing from you, no?
Self-development, continuous learning. And also, yung plan mo.
Yeah.
Ano ba yung gusto mong mangyari? Dapat malinaw sa iyo yun. Anong skill set ang kailangan mo to be marketable?
Yeah.
To be valued by the industry.
Yeah.
Diba?
And I guess I heard you also say yung networking.
Yeah,
kailangan makiknetwork ka din.
Yes.
Makikipagkaibigan ka sa mga people you interact with because you'll never know when you need to call them and you can call a friend.
Yes. And ano yan madali naman makipagkaibigan kasi kung true ka lang ng willingness to help, may multiplier effect yan ang na-learn ko kasi yung as you progress in your career, you develop your network, it gives you the capacity to help people. Especially, ako very particular ako, yung mga bata na alam mong yung nanay at tatay walang network, na minsan hindi makagrow. Maski talented yung bata, nawawala ng social mobility minsan because of financial incapacity o kaya, yun nga, wala namang mag-a-advise career-wise.
Yeah.
Diba?
Yeah.
So, minsan yung a little push na doesn't mean a thing to you, could mean yung success or failure ng bata na talented.
Totoo yun.
You know?
Totoo yun. So we were in the Christmas party of Women in Maritime last night, and yung Women in Maritime, so Association of Women in Maritime, whose goal is to bring women to sea, women for the marine environment, women for safe ships. And one of the big projects we did this year is to get scholars. You know, yung kagaya ng sinabi mo, yung mga hirap sila, you know, financially challenged. And, you know, being a member of an association such as Women in Maritime can actually help one soul or two actually. We're hoping to grow and have more because we want more women in maritime.
Speaking of women in maritime, actually at FASCAT, we have 2 women ladies serving as masters on one ship. Yeah. And actually, it made me think. So we're having difficulty sourcing masters.
Mahirap kahit na maging capital of the world ng Pilipinas.
Mahirap.
Kulang pa rin.
Pero I was thinking, ang isa kasing ang top nating is the women. There are lots of women now, even in the military, and even in the maritime sector. And if we provide them the opportunity and the avenue to really grow within the maritime, especially in the domestic, then may multiplier effect yan in terms of availability ng future masters natin. Ganon. So, ba't ka kasi makikipag-agawan if you can tap underserved or unserved sectors nung manpower supply?
Exactly.
Mas mahirap makipag-agawan kasi yung inagaw mo, aagawin din sa iyo. Pero if you cultivate your own coming from a very sustainable source, by facilitating their access to what it takes to become qualified, I think that's a more sustainable approach.
So you're thinking of hiring more women?
Yes, ang isang challenge lang dyan is syempre yung law natin na if they give birth medyo matagal, pero there are ways to address that. For example, if you have float crew, alam mo naman kung kailan magdi-disengage yung lady captains mo, you plan for it.
Exactly.
Diba? Ganun lang naman yun. Planning. Foresight and planning. That's one thing I got from friends from PTC. Kasi when they discuss with us how they do crewing, very holistic at saka hindi lang slots that needs to be filled up. Yung behavior nung pang-fill up nila, kabisado nila. Okay? In terms of how long on the average a crew will stay on board, how long they will need to go down to process their license. Factored in yun sa sa rotation and paglagay nila ng mga buffer. So, para very seamless kasi hindi pwede sakalin mo kailangan na iintindihan mo yung galawan and i-facilitate mo.
Mm.
Yun yung key doon. Sometimes kasi you think yung extra people mo are unnecessary expense. It is not. Kasi ano yan redundancy, especially kung critical.
Yeah.
Just imagine ang impact kung hindi ka makasale just because wala kang crew.
Yeah.
The cost of non-sailing
Yeah.
vis-a-vis maintaining a standby crew,
Yeah.
that's a no-brainer. Diba?
Yeah,
Oo.
yeah.
And also, hindi naman porke naka-standby yan to assume yung master position or crew position doesn't mean they'll be doing nothing.
Mm.
They won't be sitting down. They'll also be engaged in other activities.
Yeah.
Sabi nga ng PTC, they can be internal auditors. Diba?
Yeah.
Kasi they can look at how's the
Yeah.
propulsion system, how's
Yeah.
the navigation system, how's the deck.
Yeah.
Ganon. Kasi minsan yung people na engaged na dun sa operation does not have the perspective to really dig into these things, to the details.
Yeah.
So, this flow through mo can do that.
Yeah.
And it helps management give a better visibility of what's really going on
Yeah.
and the status of all the assets that are deployed.
Yeah.
Especially kung nasa malayo yung mga assets mo, just like FastCat, all over the Philippines,
Yes,
yung 18 mo. Yeah.
Geographically dispersed.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
imagine the logistics it takes
Yeah.
and how to
Exactly.
monitor.
Exactly.
Kaya actually, yun nga ang importante na meron kang readily available crew
Yeah.
to fit in when needed.
Yeah. Yeah.
I got that from PTC.
Ay, oo nga. Salamat sa mga kaibigan natin sa industriya.
Yeah.
I guess what Anytime Maritime also wants to achieve is to get the maritime stakeholders together so that
Yeah.
we're not so fragmented.
Yeah.
And then we help and support each other.
Yeah.
So what I hear from what you're saying is that now the domestic shipping industry is now reaching out to PTC, one of the biggest
Yeah.
manning agencies in the
Yeah.
Philippines and globally. I
Yeah.
think they have 50,000 seafarers.
Yeah.
So now you're setting the environment and the company such that you are maximizing our manpower.
Yes.
And also using women. So talaga promotion po sa women in maritime to. So mga nakikinig na babae, alam namin kaya. Ang kaya ng lalaki, kaya ng babae, di ba?
Yes,
Tama?
yes, yes.
At kaya magpatakbo ng barko na kahit na parang manly world,
Yes.
They say nga daw, I'm one of the few female maritime executives. Pero kaya natin to. Kaya natin, kaya. And I'm happy to hear that yun na nga, nagkakaroon na ng parang synergy among maritime stakeholders. Pero may tanong ako, Nat.
Yes, ma'am.
So, domestic shipping industry, it's vital for an archipelagic nation like
Yes.
the Philippines.
Yeah.
7,641 islands. We are archipelago. Kailangan ng barko.
Yeah.
Pero bakit ang sama ng record natin sa safety? Bakit luma mga barko sa Pilipinas? Well, at least not ata your fleet FastCat, no?
Yeah. We're relatively young.
Okay. Bakit may ganito tayong problema? Tayo nga mining capital of the world, tapos archipelago tayo. Ba't tayo nagkakaproblema sa domestic shipping na kulang ang bagong barko, safety, we don't have a very good safety record. Bakit kaya? Para naiintindihan ng mga nakikinig sa atin na,
Sa akin,
at maintindihan din, magka-glip sila sa ating industriya.
Sa akin, this is my personal opinion.
Yes.
Based on my limited exposure.
Okay.
Alright? So,
Okay.
one is, karamihan sa shipping companies natin invest in second-hand vessels.
Yeah.
Because, unang-una, cheaper. Especially if you import it.
Yeah.
Kasi if you build it here, it takes longer.
Yeah.
And it costs higher. Almost twice, I think, than if you get a second-hand.
Ayan.
And yung second-hand
Bago
kasi,
ay luma.
pagka-import mo, pwede mo nang isayin agad.
Mm.
While shipbuilding will take you what? A year.
Mm.
So yung investment mo hindi agad gumugulong.
Yeah.
Diba? Hindi
Yeah.
nag-earn. Second, siyempre, pag bago yung barko mo, mas mataas ang capital outlay mo, mas malaki yung babayaran mo
Mm.
over time na eats up yung yung available cash mo for operations. Kung second hand yung barko mo, mas maliit yung amortizations mo. So, mas maluwag ang cash flow.
Yeah.
So, that's from a purely financial perspective.
Yeah.
But if you look at the long term, it's better to invest in new vessels.
Yeah.
Just as like what Pascal did.
Yeah.
Kasi pag newer yung vessel, lesser ang sakit ng ulo. Parang kotse yan. Di ba? Pag 3 to 5 years ang kotse mo, okay pa. Pero pag
tumatanda
10 years na yan, kailangan may extra ka ng radiator hose niyan, mga fan belt, which I do kasi I have an old car. Mahilig ko sa old car. So, basic analogy yan eh.
Yeah.
So, the older the vessel, the more problems, unforeseen ones will happen. Pero, ang problema kasi, the riding public doesn't care kung kung magkano or what, basta yung fare kasi ang dito, determinante. So, hindi natin na motivate ngayon yung mga companies who want to really invest in new vessels. Kasi nga, yung impact on finances. So, isa yon. Second siguro, yung manpower drain natin, lahat gusto mag-abroad eh. So, the best sailors are out there. I'm not saying that the ones who prefer to stay here are not good.
Yeah.
Marami rin good. Pero syempre, kung sino yung hindi nag-qualify doon, yung apparently ang naging station domestic natin. So, these are contributing factors probably on our record of safety. Okay. Also, another siguro dyan is yung enforcement. Kasi safety comes with enforcement. Diba? So, masyado tayong wide dispersed rin, masyadong, baka kulang tayo sa enforcement. Kulang in terms of presence or kulang in terms of dedication or active enforcement. This can be the causes. Pero hopefully, with newer ships and better quality of graduates, definitely mag-i-improve ang safety natin. Yun lang naman yun. Yeah. And sa akin, ang pinaka number one dyan is the leadership of the master. Kasi the master is the one in charge of the safety and can control anything that a ship does. If you really have disciplined and very good masters, everything will follow. Plus newer ships, of course.
New ships and yung skill and competency of our seafarers, it's very important.
Yes.
So that it will have a direct impact on the industry.
Yes.
Yan ang kailangan. So, kailangan pa natin mag-modernize pa ng fleet kagaya ng ginawa ng Fastcard sa Pilipinas. You think?
Sa akin, I would say yes. Pero I think it's also happening now kasi you can see very high-speed passenger ferries flying the Batangas route. I think the other companies are already investing. And that's good. That's
of
good.
Course, that's
healthy competition. Kasi if everybody tries to improve, then sabay-sabay tayo mag-improve. Ang problema kasi kung merong ayaw mag-improve and yet they have
allowed.
the better ability to lower their price. Siyempre, kasi yung riding public is also price sensitive. You cannot blame them for that. Diba? So, they get to resort to this second-hand vessels kasi they can bring down their price. Unlike ito mga very aggressive to improve the safety by buying newer ships, medyo yung break-even mo mataas eh. So, it's very difficult minsan to really go above the rates that are prevailing.
That's true.
And siguro awareness rin ng public sana in terms of safety.
Anong wish mo na malaman ng mga pasahero para makatulong din sila sa domestic shipping industry? Because alam natin kailangan yun, dahil hiwa-hiwalay ang Pilipinas, archipelago, kailangan ng barko. So anong wish mo na alam ng mga pasahero? So this is educating our passengers.
Pasahero.
Pasahero. Okay. At saka yung rolling cargo na din. Anong wish mong alam nila so that they have a better understanding of what from the perspective of a domestic shipping operator?
Sana they support yung modernization effort by patronizing those companies who have efforts to modernize. When you ride, do not only look at the price, look at the safety, look at the potential of the vessel. Kasi kung ipapatronize natin yung mga vessels that are too old, unreliable, tapos we allow them by patronizing them, then hindi natin pinupush yung modernization.
Yeah.
Kasi, ano yan alam nyo naman sa negosyo, hanggat kumikita, hanggat may kliyenteng sumasakay, babiyahe yan.
Yeah.
Pero kung safety conscious na tayong mga riders, mga clients, and we patronize yung alam nating safe, and yet medyo mataas ang presyo, kasi nga mas mataas ang kapital nila, then eventually, yung ganong behavior natin will result to modernized fleet.
Yeah.
Ang hirap sa isang company to modernize kung yung flow ng income mo based on client behavior limits you. Diba? You can only grow if you are sustainable. So, dapat matain muna ng company yung sustainability before they pursue growth initiatives. So, for a company to be capable of growth, kailangan mag-stabilize muna. So, pag pinatronize ngayon ng mga riding public, yung mga companies na nag-e-effort to modernize for them to become stable, then you're also giving these companies the chance to grow and eventually offer better services nationwide.
Yeah.
Remember, at FastCat, dalawa ang namin, ang ino-offer namin. One is yung sa tourism, second is logistics. We carry goods all over the Philippines. And also, we give the people opportunity to visit sites all over the Philippines as well. Ang hirap timplahin yan, pero tinitimpla namin. Kasi, mas madali actually kung purely passenger ka or purely logistics ka. Hindi ka na mag-iisip doon Pero itong balancing act na to, it's very challenging. Pero it's what we need. Kasi we need to connect the islands. If you look at PPA, maraming criticism sa PPA. Gawa ng port kung saan-saan, hindi naman nagagamit. Sinasayang yung pera ng gobyerno. Hindi sayang yon kasi yung port, dyan nagsisimula ang development. So, kung titingnan nyo, lahat ng mga cities natin, katabi ng dagat. Kasi, initially, mga ports yan. And they grew over time. Ganon ang strategy ng PPA. Although I'm not with PPA, I just learned it from UNCTAD. Okay, now, ang next dyan, kung meron ka ng port, ang sunod dyan is kailangan mo ng biyahe. That's where FastCat comes in. We have plans to open up new ports 2024 kasi ganun ang strategy. Pero, again, it's a business. You help us. Kasi, if you do not have enough cargoes or passenger in those routes, it will die a natural death. Ganun kasimple yun.
Yeah.
Simple economics. Pero kung tutulungan tayo ng mga partners natin dun sa mga ports na to really generate yung volume needed to at least sustain us, to stabilize, then eventually, baka magdalawang biyahe pa kami sa mga ganyang ruta. So, yun, sana tingnan ng mga LGUs natin yung aspect na yun. We're very willing to come in, to open up new routes. Pero, it's a two-way thing. Kailangan maging sustainable rin yung ruta natin doon.
Exactly.
Otherwise, mag-i-stop lang yan eventually.
Exactly.
So, that's what I want to tell our riding public.
Yeah. Na parang discerning naman sa sinasakyang barko na tingnan ng safety, tingnan ang modern ship siya at sumusunod ba sa regulation. Yun ang suportahan para magtuloy-tuloy at dumami pa sana.
Yes.
Yeah. What I heard you saying also is yung ports, no? So, dapat tinitingnan natin siya hindi lang as barko per se, but also yung port.
Yes, connectivity. Connectivity is important.
Yeah, connectivity. And earlier we were talking about people. So ships, ports, and people. This was actually an IMO theme, I think, back in 2016.
Yeah.
So they put ships, ports, and people so that we look at it as one whole, holistic thinking. Hindi barko lang, hindi ports lang, hindi tao lang, but sabay-sabayan na naaabante. So nagiging balakid sa atin yung sinabi mo kanina na parang ang mahal ng kapital sa modernization. So mahal ang bagong barko. So we're talking about ships, ports, and people. So, in the ports where FastCat operates, ano yung wish mo naman sa mga ports kung nakikinig ang mga ports authority and people?
Sana support natin yung requirements ng mga vessels. For example, ano bang kailangan ng isang vessel? Any vessel would need fuel, power, water.
Yeah.
If you have that accessible, it's a big thing. And it
Yeah.
could probably reduce yung operating cost ng vessels,
Exactly.
making them capable of lowering their price or improving their profitability. So, timplahan kasi yan eh.
Yeah. Yeah.
Actually, how to view yung port, ships, and people from a logistics perspective kasi ang behavior ng client is looking at the complete logistics chain. Gawin natin kunyari international, no? Goods from China going to the Philippines, dadaan yan ng road muna eh. Galing factory ng China, pupunta ng port ng China, transport by vessel, then pagdating doon, port na naman, then sasakyan na naman, then warehouse or ano. At both ends, there's either a production or consumption area. And in between that is the logistics chain. Truck, port, and ships. Now, yung behavior ng mga nag-use ng chain na yan, ang nagkokontrol yan is faster and cheaper. Whichever is faster, whichever is cheaper, dun sila. Luckily, Fastcat is faster. Okay. Now, having said that, kailangan, pag magpuput up ka, for example, na mag-open ka ng new port, yun ang titingnan mo eh. So, dapat may production and consumption area that you are connecting. Otherwise, there's nothing to transport. And kung meron yan, again, meron rin iba't ibang nagpa-apply ng route na yan. So, ang labanan dyan, faster and cheaper again. Yung pagiging faster kasi madaling i-attain. Yung cheaper, medyo mahirap. Kasi nga, dun nagte-take into play, ano ba yung gagamitin mong pambiyahe at saka ano yung priority ng mga riders mo. Ang mahirap kasi, minsan, yung pag pumasok tayo sa cheaper, sinisira natin yung growth ng logistics chain na yun. Kasi hindi mo na-incentivize yung mga faster. Diba? And what does that do? Kung ang nag-survive is yung slower rin yung chain mo, may effect yun sa economy. Tumataas ang cost of delivery of goods.
Exactly. Actually, ang isang datos ng Pilipinas na dapat nating ma-solve ay ang kamahalan daw ng logistics.
Exactly.
Cost of transport. Kaya ang mahal ang bilihin, mahal bigas, mahal ang mga output because daw yung logistics chain. Sa mga nakikinig, Logistics 101 right there. Naintindihan yung supply chain. So, bakit nga mahal sa atin? You were saying fast, cheap. So, bakit mahal sa atin? How do we solve that then?
Example, may-ari ako ng truck. Okay. Kung mabagal ang processing sa port, matraffic sa labas, yung truck ko, makaka-isang biyahe lang.
Exactly.
Okay. So, pag nag-isang biyahe ako, yung cost nun, i-distribute ko dun sa kargamentong transport ko. So, ibig sabihin, per unit ko, mas mahal. Unlike kung nakadalawang biyahe ako kasi efficient. So, twice the volume of the cargos, dun mai-spread yung cost ng transport ko. So, the good then becomes cheaper. Kaya ang tinitingnan lagi dyan is yung total transport cost mo. Kasi yung produce mong goods dito sa China, dadalhin mo sa Cebu para mabenta doon. Yung production fixed na yun eh. Pero yung total transport mo, cost mo from there and before it goes to Cebu, variable yun. Saan port mo ibababa, anong taripa doon. Mas ano yung pamasahe doon sa ano. Ganon. So, yan.
So, paano nga natin i-solve yun? Paano natin mapapababa ang cost of transport sa Pilipinas?
Multifaceted yan. Dapat we all work together.
So, how?
I think PPA and customs are also streamlining. They've been doing
streamlining their processes. Para walang congestion. Mas mabilis ang turnaround.
Exactly. Second, yung sa traffic natin.
Nga. Matindi ang traffic.
Infrastructure, di ba? So
you're saying kailangan ng infrastructure. We need more roads. Or maybe less cars.
Probably more efficient transport systems will do.
More efficient transport systems. So like train, ganyan nga, subway, barko. Kasi yung the nautical highway. Yeah.
Yung barko nga
Yeah.
example ng barko,
Yeah.
there's such a thing as right sizing.
Right
Kasi
size.
hindi porke malaki yung barko mo, okay na siya. Hindi palakihan yan. Depende sa route.
Yeah.
Kasi
Anong pangailangan?
at saka depende rin dun sa volume na available. Kasi malaki ang barko mo, pero it takes you 2 days to fill it up.
Yeah.
So may 1 day loss ka na in terms of travel.
Yeah.
A vessel is not earning if it's not moving. Yun ang basic principle. Kaya nga doon pumapasok yung concept na faster, cheaper.
Yeah.
Diba?
Faster, cheaper.
Yung barko, pag nag-iintay sa anchorage, dahil hindi pa cleared, it's costing us.
Yes.
Yung barko, pag naka-alongside, pero hindi nag-ooperate yung mga equipment to unload, that's costing us.
Yeah.
Kasi hindi productive ano yan Kaya nga ang principle, pag nakadikit ang barko sa pier, ang tinatawag dyan na master cycle is yung capacity ng crane. Yung capacity ng crane should be matched by the number of trucks operating. Kasi ito, pag nag-down, you're delaying the vessel. Mag-invest ka na sa sobrang truck, wag lang bumagal yung crane mo ng pag-ano. Para makaalis to, good for the vessel, kasi maganda ang turnaround niya, and also good for the waiting vessel. And the more productive rin yung port. Dapat holistic ang tingin dun sa sa mga proseso. Minsan kala mo nakatipid ka kasi sabi mo, 3 truck lang gagamitin ko dito, iikot ko na lang. That's from the cargo handler perspective. But it erodes the port productivity, it also kills the ship. Dapat siguro naintindihan nyo ng mga Kaya dun pumapasok, ma'am, yung sinasabi mo kanina, yung stakeholders should get together to really look at the bigger picture. Dapat win-win. Dapat win-win.
Think win-win.
Yeah.
So, sa tingin ko ba masasolve ng Pilipinas yung issue ng mahal na logistics? Kasi may impact yun, di ba? Pagka nag-improve yung logistics natin, maaring bumaba ang presyo ng bilihin.
Yeah.
You think, can we do that? Kasi pag nagbabiyahe sa ibang bansa, like Singapore, di ba? They're very known as a very successful maritime nation na kahit isang tuldok lang sila, mas malaki pa Quezon City kaysa Singapore. But they're able to achieve that. Bakit tayo medyo parang hubli tayo? So, ma-achieve ba natin yan? In our lifetime, you think, what does it take for us to do that faster, cheaper, so that logistics...
It's doable kasi Singapore was able to do that. Di ba?
So, kaya.
Kaya yan. Siguro, what did Singapore have? Strong leadership.
Yeah.
And what?
Lee Kuan Yew. Pinanood ko yung documentary niya
And
sa Netflix po.
Yung, yung citizens, how do they support?
Yes. Citizen, how do they... Okay. The citizenry must also support
Must
the
have
maritime...
awareness and support the programs.
Yeah.
Sabi ko nga, di ba? You support yung mga companies striving towards modernization ng fleet. If you want better services in the future.
Yeah.
Yan lang naman yun.
So, are you saying or suggesting na how do you support, like if I'm from Manila and then domestic shipping ka, how do I support you? Sakay ako sa barko nyo, ganon.
Pwede, kasi
mamasyal sa
we're
Pilipinas.
safe,
yes.
we're convenient.
Okay, yeah. So, invitation. Sumakay naman po kayo ng barko at baybayin ang mga isla ng Pilipinas sa pagsakay sa ating mga Ro-Ro vessels. No?
Yeah.
Pwedeng dali ng sasakyan at makita ang ganda ng Pilipinas.
Actually, yun nga ang maganda sa Pascat Actually, bago lang ko sa Pascat.
Yeah.
Pero, analyzing the business model, very friendly sa riding public. Kasi, unang-una, kung wala kang sasakyan, you can ride Pascat.
Yeah.
Kung may sasakyan ka, you can ride Pascat with your family.
Yeah.
Tapos, kung businessman ka naman na may kargamento ka, you can also ride Pascat.
Yeah.
Pero, kumbaga, the business, the transport facility was made available to the public in a challenging way, and yet we're sustaining it.
Yeah.
But just by knowing sino talaga yung appropriate riders and clients. Gano'n naman yan And ang isang challenge kasi namin sa pag-open ng routes, there are ports na walang kargamento kasi hindi siya production or consumption area. Those are very pressing challenges kasi yung volume yung volume. You cannot survive on passenger fees alone. Diba?
Yeah.
You can also not survive by cargo fees alone.
Yeah.
Okay, so ang nga doon, yung hinahanap mong volume needs you to be there before they can be generated. Kasi, sabi ko nga, port and the vessel spurs economic activity and progress.
Yeah.
Diba? So, kailangan yung gusto mag-progress na area, tumulong to make it happen.
Yeah.
Diba?
Kailangan sila.
Yeah.
They're part of the equation.
Yeah.
Not,
Kasi we are willing.
Stand alone.
But you help us to be
Yeah.
sustainable in these routes that we will be offering.
Yeah. So for young people na mahilig magbiyahe, apparently ang mga Gen Z ngayon gusto talagang
Mahilig sila.
magbiyahe. So Fastcat is able to take them to the islands.
Yes.
With their cars or without their cars because
Yeah.
buses ride
Yeah.
Fastcat too, di ba?
Yes.
So ano nakita mong future ng domestic shipping sa Pilipinas? Saan patutungo? saan
Definitely,
papunta?
it will have to modernize kasi international regulations about shipping are getting very stringent, di ba? Yung fuel, yung emissions, all these things will eventually force all nations to comply. And kaya nga at Fastcat, inuunahan na namin yan eh. Okay? We have recently engaged DCARB to limit our emissions. Kasi very conscious kami dyan sa we have engaged Jotun in terms of anti-fouling paints namin. Kasi, ba't mo pa i-resist, dyan ka rin pupunta, unahan mo na. Kaya nga trendsetter kami eh. Unahan mo na what you think needs to be done, do it, and be the best at doing it, and be the first. That's how we want it to be.
Yeah. That's really nice that you have this mga marine environment protection projects because it's all for sustainability.
Yes.
Pero siguro sa mga nakikinig sa atin na hindi pa familiar sa decarbonization, do you wanna explain it more? Go deeper into, ano ba yung decarbonization conversation that's going on?
Basically,
Yeah.
to make it simple,
Okay.
yung
Yeah.
makina kasi,
Yes.
pag nilagyan mo yan ng hydrogen injection, it burns cleaner. With the cleaner burning engine, lesser ang emissions mo. Halos smokeless ka. Compared to a dilapidated or non-maintained, just like in the old ships. Okay, so with this decarb, cleaner ang burning of fuel, and also it results to fuel saving kasi mas efficient ang burning, mas lesser fuel ang required, and yung power is generated mas malakas. So basically it's a win-win. You're helping the environment and you're saving money. So that's what decarb is all about. And
So cleaner air.
Cleaner air ang resulta niya. Cleaner air, lesser cost in terms of operating your engine, and longer life for the engine.
So mas efficient sa operations ng barko dahil mas bababa ang cost ng fuel and then hahaba yung buhay ng makina ng mga barko. Kailangan natin ng barko. We have already talked about that. Kailangan ng barko sa Pilipinas. So, okay. Habang nagsasalita ka, pumasok sa isip ko yung salitang PMS, yung Preventive Maintenance System.
Yes.
Kasi, I don't know if you notice na this is a frustration of mine na bawat sa airport, sa ibang bansa. Example na lang, Singapore. Pag pumunta ka sa banyo nila sa airport, parang ang linis-linis. And then, meron silang, may kita mong system na nagko-communicate sila sa client. Pag may sira, may tulo, may tumutulong gripo, may walang flash, they're able to communicate para ma-maintain yung serbisyo.
Yes.
I also don't know if you notice na ang frustration, sometimes pupunta ka dito sa airport natin, tapos may kita mo, may lababo, it's not working, and then lalagyan lang nila ng sign na out of order. And then you wonder na parang, gano'ng katagal na pa itong out of order? Kailan kaya to magiging in order?
Yeah.
And then in the domestic shipping, nakikita natin na parang yung mga barko na, yung iba, hindi lahat, yung iba, parang, oh my God, safe pa ba to? Parang, tapos yung usok, sobrang itim, may suit na, ganyan. So, parang hindi masyadong naisa sa buhay dito sa bayan natin, yung PMS, yung Preventive Maintenance System. So, you see some systems not working.
Yeah.
So can you share your 2 cents worth on what is PMS and why it is important. If I am an ordinary Filipino na wala pang masyadong alam sa PMS, gaano kahalaga ang PMS sa pagbabarko?
Gawin natin kung meron kang tricycle na lang. Kasi tricycle is a common...
Okay, nakasasakyan at nakikita ng lahat.
Yung
Okay.
tricycle mo, yung motor mo, hindi pwedeng biyahe ng biyahe lang yan.
Okay.
Kung makikita niyo yung tricycle driver, nagpapalit yan ng langis, kasi yung langis mo, eventually lumalapot, and hindi na siya effective para i-lubricate yung parts.
Yeah.
Nagiging inefficient na yung engine, mas mataas ang friction,
Yeah.
mas masisira.
Mm.
PMS is like that. May periodic maintenance system na dapat gagawin for our engines na in-specify niya ng nag-manufacture ng engine.
Okay.
Pag hindi mo sinunod yan, ang tendency is iikli yung buhay ng makina or masisira siya.
Mm.
So, it will result to stoppages ng biyahe mo. So, it's very important. And, ang number one kasi dyan is, ang nag-PPMS normally are the crew. Responsibilidad dyan ng mga nasa barko.
Yeah.
But definitely, kailangan rin nila na ready yung pang PMS nila. Yung supply ng materials or whatever on board. May concept naman kasi na may minimum space on board ng barko to do the PMS. So, it all boils down again to the discipline and confidence of the crew, especially the leadership of the master. Kasi pag yung master ang talagang nag-safeguard ng PMS, ma-accomplish yan. Ganun. So, medyo kasi tayo, may kultura tayo as a Filipino na pwede na yan, tumatakbo pa naman.
Oo.
Ganon.
Isasagadin.
Oo, hanggang nandiyan pa.
Oo.
Diba?
Yeah, but it's not good, no?
Not good.
Kung walang PM. Parang tao, di ba? Ang tao kailangan meron ding maintenance.
Yes, dapat. Nag-exercise ka rin kahit pa paano.
Exactly.
Check up.
Or uminom ng maintenance meds.
Yes.
Tinatanong parang, nasa maintenance drugs ka na ba?
So, useless kasi yung barko mo kung hindi mo ipipil. Bago nga barko mo, hindi mo yes. Eventually, baka mas luma pa yung mangyayari compared dun sa lumang na PMS na maayos.
Yeah. So, sa pagbabarko, big deal ang PMS.
Yes.
Para humaba ang buhay ng barko, para tuloy ang serbisyo.
Ang biyahe.
Yes, ang biyahe at
Walang
serbisyo.
cancellation.
Yeah. So, PMS is important. And isang kanina na pag-usapan natin, gusto ko rin tanungin yung speed. Sabi mo, fast cut fast. Bakit ang speed nga ba may kinalaman sa cost? At,
Yes.
and
Kasi
efficiency?
basically, yung makina mo, meron niyang pinaka-optimum RPM wherein yung power output niya compared sa konsumo is maximized.
Yeah.
So, kung napapansin nyo, minsan may yung mga Victory Liner or other bus companies, meron niyang GPS tracker, minomonitor nila anong speed ng driver nila. Kasi pag lumabas dun sa ideal speed yung driver, tumataas ang konsumo ng gasolina. So pag tumaas ang konsumo ng gasolina, kinakain nun yung profit or yung tubo ng kumpanya.
Yeah.
So dapat tinitingnan yun. And
Yeah.
that's the operational side. The
Yeah.
other side is the PMS. Pag hindi mo pini-invest yung barko mo or yung bus mo,
Yeah.
mataas na rin ang konsumo niya ng gasolina kasi hindi na efficient yung takbo ng makina niya.
Yeah.
Ganon.
Yeah. So, speed has a bearing on the
The cost.
overall
On the cost. Although sinabi ko
And the
kanina, di ba,
logistics
yung
chain.
speed, another perspective of the speed is habang mas mabilis ka, especially for time-sensitive products,
Yes.
mas attractive ka dun sa kliyente.
Exactly.
So, kailangan ma-maintain mo yung minimum speed required to deliver the goods na on time ka pa rin dun sa needs ng client. Pero pag dinelivery mo yan ng faster nga, pero outside ka naman dun sa RPM na optimized, naging mas costly yung transport mo kasi mas mataas ang singil mo. Or kung hindi ka man sumigil ng mataas, natalo ka dun sa profit mo.
Yeah.
So it's really a balancing act. Kailangan lahat tinitingnan mo, tinitwik mo.
Yeah.
Ganun ang pagbabarko, medyo madugo.
Oo, no? Madugo, tsaka
Yes.
complex, no?
Yes, complex.
Kasi it's highly regulated,
Yeah.
and then a lot of moving parts.
And yung seasonality pa ng goods mo and passengers, especially passengers,
Exactly.
grabe ang seasonality.
Yeah.
Kaya nga, one strategy is look at the balancing yung in-demand na goods, yung walang season, ano, pagkain, di ba? Mga produkto, kino-consume yan. January to December, we take in food, we consume textiles, etc. Pero yung pasahero kasi, pag walang pasok, either tumaas yan or bumaba, depende sa location. Pag tag-ulan, either bababa na naman yan. O kaya pag season ng tourism, tataas yan. So, very volatile. Minsan may isang development lang, biglang mawawala yung pasahero. Mga unforeseen events. So, yung sustainability mo at saka predictability ng kargamento is a challenge. Is a challenge. You know?
Yeah. You were saying you carry goods. So, ang mga sumasakay na nag-cargo sa Roro ay, can you tell us, ano ba yung profile ng mga gumagamit ng serbisyo sa domestic shipping or the Roro?
It can be fruits, it can be live animals, it can
Livestock,
be finished products, it can be raw materials. Everything that a community needs to survive and thrive. Basically, that's what we bring. So, just imagine kung hindi available yung means to transport. Just like what happened during pandemic, nilimit ang biyahe. So, ano bang epekto, di ba? Grabe ang epekto sa industriya. Walang production, wala rin consumption. May gustong mag-consume, pero wala namang mag-produce. And ang critical leg niya is the transport. And we provide that.
Exactly. You know, you made me think of the 17 Sustainable Development Goals of the United Nations, di ba? Yung SDG na tinatawag. And one of those would be transport, decent transport, because it's an infrastructure project na kailangan for development and sustainability. Kasi isipin natin yung mga kababayan natin na nasa mga isla, maliliit o malaki, paano sila makakarating sa mainland where there's that service of like hospitals, population, if there is no decent transportation. So talagang vital ang pagbabarko sa Pilipinas. So maritime nation tayo ay vital service, so kailangan suportahan.
Dapat supportahan, and especially for the young generations, look at it that way, support maritime and engage in maritime. Malaking opportunity yan. If you just focus on, again, sabi ko, self-development and also looking at what you want to be. Having a plan is important.
Having a plan. Self-development and having a plan. And then, talagang na-scope mo ang iba-ibang facet ng maritime. Ngayong umaga, I think talagang yung mga nakikinig sa atin, maraming natutuhan sa industriya maritima at hindi lamang industriya maritima sa Pilipinas, kung hindi global, global, because hindi naman hiwa-hiwalay ang dagat. We share the oceans. So talagang ang maritime industry is very, very big, has a very, very big scope. So, kwentahan mo lang kaming mabilis tungkol sa mga digitalization na ginagawa sa domestic shipping or FastCat. Ano bang mga digitalization? Kasi parang lahat ng mga kabataan ngayon, very techy na. And then sa Seafarer 2050, sabi, ang Seafarer 2050 looks like somebody who's tech-savvy and, alam niya yung mga AI and all. So in domestic shipping, ano po bang mga digitalization projects?
Number one dyan is yung ticketing system kasi that makes it very convenient for people to really explore what you can provide them and engage you. Ganon. And right now, yun nga, gusto namin maging yung ticketing system natin will be very friendly, as in kung pwede mong i-bypass yung dating traditional na queuing lines, we do that. Although the challenge is, minsan kasi iba yung protocol ng port, iba naman yung protocol ng mga shipping. So, kailangan ma-marry yun para for the convenience of the riding public. Kasi the faster people get through the port, the more earnings the port also get
Exactly.
Kasi yung foot traffic, dapat mabilis. Ganon. Also, yung we're looking at how to make the scanning process more traceable for security reasons. Kasi importante na mo-monitor mo sino at ano yung sumakay sa'yo. Ganon. And you have records of this. These are in the pipeline. wala tayong other direction but to move forward. And if you move forward, you move fast. Ganun kasimple yun. We're in consultation with ferry companies from other countries looking at their best practices in terms of their ticketing system. We're engaged with 3 actually right now, and we're looking at their system.
So digitalization would be for FastCat ticketing system so that customers can already book online.
Yes, multiple bookings and even yung cancellation mo. Para with the click of a finger, kaya mong i-navigate na the services that we can offer. That's very important right now, especially for the younger generation.
Oh.
And it's also very efficient.
Yeah.
Lesser manpower for you to do,
Yes.
for us.
Yes.
Ganon. Malaking advantage kasi nun if you have that in place.
And you did that with the customers in mind.
Yes.
Kasi you want them to be convenienced.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. And then ticketing systems and reaching out to customers.
Yes.
Oh, that's so nice. Exciting, no?
Yes,
exciting.
it's very exciting.
Exciting to
Yeah.
connect the Philippine Islands
and hindi lang yung riding public. Even the logistics company will benefit from it. Kasi alam mo kung kailan darating yung kargamento mo, so ma-coordinate mo yung next leg.
Yeah.
Yun.
So it's giving them the access to
Information.
Yeah, information.
Yes.
So that yung mga drivers din nila ay hindi na kailangan magbitbit ng cash. dahil nabili na nila
parang Shopee, di ba? Ipo-forward mo
pwede nang put sa cart.
Yeah.
Yung trip. Ay, nako. Sabi ko na nga ba pagka talagang, pagka magandang kwentuhan, talagang kulang na kulang yung
overtime.
Overtime at kulang yung oras because there's just a lot to talk about and to learn from here in the maritime industry.
Yeah.
So, Jonathan, thank you so much.
Thank you, ma'am, for having me here.
Thank you. Thank you for joining our movement in Anytime Maritime.
Kailan kayo next time uli, ma'am?
Ama, kung gusto mo, bukas na bukas.
Alright.
Because ang daming pag-uusapan. Pag mga bagong development to domestic shipping, kailangan pag-usapan natin dito. And we want to make sure that this can be viewed and re-reviewed, replayed in our pages, both in FB and IG, itong Anytime Maritime. So, marami pa tayong iniimbita at it is our hope that we create this movement and we have a lot of following because in doing so, we will have a power as an industry.
Yes.
Diba?
Yes, I
There's
agree.
power in numbers and the more following we have, the more powerful we will be.
And we will have the strong voice in the industry.
Yun pala yun. Yun ang ibig ko namin sabihin. Okay, strong voice in the industry because the ripple effect that it can bring, no, yung maritime industry is just enormous. Diba? It can provide livelihood to many people and ma-achieve natin yung pangarap ng Pilipinas, Vision 2050, Philippines a first world economy. So, ma-achieve ba natin yan? Kaya ba natin yan?
Kaya yan, ma'am. Kaya.
Talaga?
We have the right people with the right attitude. That's doable.
Yeah, I love it. You're making it sound so not impossible. Possible. Ang ibig sabihin. Hopeful and possible.
Yeah.
Jonathan, thank you so much.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you. Thank you. This has been Anytime Maritime. Thank you for joining us and please continue to join our intelligent conversations here in Anytime Maritime. Thank you.
Thank you.